Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 9 of Loss, Love, and All the Other Shit in Between. This episode today is called When the Third Eye Cries, Visions of Loss and Love. Soon we'll be accompanied by my friend Claire Evans, who is a clairvoyant and healer and all the other funny stuff that she gets up to. So she'll be going through that with us today. And it's just mainly to discuss just everyday issues that we face and what we do when we need help and we need assistance. And a lot of people may not believe in it, nor do they go for it. But for me, it was something I never really thought about. It was something that my sister and my brother put forward when we lost our mother and brother, and we decided to go ahead with it. Um, so Yeah, and I never look back. It's something I regularly do. I visit a lot of clairvoyancy evenings. I like going. It's not so much about, hearing the stories, but I just like to see what other people have gone through and to be there, and to understand that you're not alone. There is a lot of people that go through certain issues. So I tend to do that. I go to them and then I'm there to support Claire. It's something I believe in. And she's always been there to assist me at any time. So it's just something I would like to do. So I'm just waiting for Claire to join in, and then we can do our first guest on the podcast. But yeah, there's certain elements that we're going to be covering today. Claire will obviously take lead on certain elements because she's the expert. I'm going to obviously listen in, and then I will jump in as and when I feel I can, and where I can add some kind of insight to what I've seen and what I've faced. Obviously, I've had 48 years in this life so far, almost 49, and I've seen a lot, been through a lot, and how I've coped with most things and how I've dealt with certain issues. I remember when I first met Claire, I went through, and I was a bit skeptic about it, as you do, but she could sense that. And she had a lot of feelings that day that my mother had come through and she was calling my name all day. And yeah, she just made me feel at ease. And, it's like I said, it's not everybody's cup of tea, but for me, there were certain elements that there was no way that she would ever have known any of that stuff because it's not something that I put out there in the world. And yeah, it really helped, my friend, my best friend, and my mum, my nan comes through quite a lot, and a lot of the clairvoyance evenings that I've had recently, Mark has come through quite a lot, my little brother, and he's been coming through as more of a carrier. He tends to bring people to the forefront. So if there's certain people that are with me or certain people in the room that I'm aware of, Mark seems to always bring them forward. So he's the kind of person that would bring that person to the forefront, and yeah, it kind of helps. So yeah, so I'm just waiting on Claire to come in. Obviously, there's some issues. I had some issues setting it up, so hopefully she'll be in very soon. I'll be with you shortly. Just bear with me 2 seconds, okay? Hello, so we're back. So I'm gonna let Claire in now, and then we'll start the podcast, okay?
Hello.
Hello, can you see me? Is your camera on?
Yes. Can you see? No, it's not. 1 second.
Oh, good.
There we go. Hello.
Hello, Claire.
Hey, we got
So we're
there in the
busy
end,
film.
right?
It's definitely there. So yeah, so I just started the podcast, just obviously naming, the title for the podcast, and then obviously went for a little bit of small history between the two of us with regards to when I first met you and losing my mum and my brother and stuff like that. But it was just mainly, I wanted to bring this on board because I just want to not only teach other people what it is that you do, but I mean, obviously I want to learn myself, so I'm very much interested in what it is that you do because we're friends anyway. So I only know you to a certain level, but I just don't understand or how you get from one element and then you cut off and then you go straight to your next one. So
My
it's
hat.
just more of so it's just more of like that really, and just having a better understanding what you've got, what are you doing, and what your business as a whole is currently doing, and what are you got plans for the future and stuff like that.
Okay, all right. So, well, firstly, thank you for having me on your show. Much
Oh, thank you.
appreciated.
Thanks.
And I'll just literally just put this out there very briefly. What I share with you is about my journey, my personal journey, and what I believe in is what I've learned through that journey as well. So I'm not somebody extra special that knows all this hidden information or anything like that. I'm just a human being who has developed the ability, being a psychic medium. And obviously I'm now using that in lots of different areas. It's not just about the mediumship side of things. So when I decided to do this 10 years ago, took a leap of faith, thanks to Jenny
Yeah.
Grayson. I never really envisaged how much it would evolve and how many people I would end up like supporting and helping, particularly
Yeah.
through the grief journey. And I'm really lucky because I've made so many amazing friends out of it, you know. And I know you and I
Yeah.
went to school together, but I don't really think we had any kind of connection at school.
No.
Obviously, it's now when you like you say you came to me for reading, and another, I've got another friendship from it. So
Yeah.
as well as me doing my bit for spirit, they're you know they're providing me with all these wonderful friends.
Yeah, I just don't know how you fit it all in. I don't know how you have any friends because I generally don't think you have any spare time.
Well, I the spare time that I have, I use that in getting with those friends, getting together with those friends. So it's really strange because, like, you know, I have people that will come and sit in my kitchen on a Friday night and have a few bevies with me and let their hair down and you
Yeah.
know and they came to me at the worst time of their life, you know, when they were grieving and in a really bad
Mm.
space. And yes, I'm still obviously supporting them through that as a friend, but then there is also the professional hat. Like I was saying, I literally wear so many hats. So in regards to the friendships, it's knowing when to have the right hat on, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
you know.
No, no, for sure. For sure. And then with regards to clairvoyancy and psychic healing, when did you when did it come to you as such? Was it something from an early age or was
Oh
it
God,
just
yeah.
something that you were interested in?
Yes, yeah. So it runs in the family. My mum's mum was the seventh daughter of a seventh daughter, which,
Oh
you know,
wow.
superstition will tell you very, very connected to more the darker side of things, to be fair, like your witchy
Yeah.
vibe.
Mm.
My dad's side of the family, his auntie, she actually opened up the first ever spiritualist church in Glasgow and is quite a very well-known medium back in the day and has been
Okay.
mentioned in some books and writings by a lot of working mediums that are out there on the scene at the moment. So she was a very, very well-regarded medium.
Wow.
And, you know, I've been seeing spirit ever since I can remember. And I was very lucky coming from that upbringing and that understanding that it, you know, it isn't scary, it is real. I was encouraged to talk about it. You know, if we'd had a visitation in the evening, I was encouraged to share what I'd seen, who I'd experienced, and my mum would say next time they come, get a name and ask what the message is. You know, they've come for a
Oh wow.
reason.
Yeah.
So I was sort of brought up in that household where I think the problem is we're all born open. We come from the spirit world. We go back to the spirit world, but when we're born and we start to feel things and see things as we age and we get that little bit older, tending to be sort of toddler age, put down to like night terrors, don't be silly, there's no such thing as ghosts. Ghosts don't exist. There's no such thing as a boogeyman.
Yeah.
So what happens is that child then, I don't want to look
Locked.
stupid. I don't want to look like I'm going mad. I'm going to close down. And sometimes it's not until we go through a bereavement that we kind of start to explore, understandably, want to start to explore that pathway again.
Wow.
And that's when people will start to maybe have feelings. The frustrating thing is, I think a lot of people think that when they get a visit from spirit, their loved one is literally going to come walking into the room looking just as they did when they were in the prime of their life, sit in
Yeah.
front of you and have a chin wag. It doesn't work like that. If you don't have the ability to see spirit, you're not going to see them, but you might hear them or you might feel them, you might get a sense for them. So we all have a different way of knowing when spirit is around us, and
Yeah.
it's knowing what that is. What is that tool? If you can see, you will see. If you can hear, you will hear. But there's no point in getting frustrated and angry because you can't see or hear your
Yeah.
loved one, yet you might have smelt them. Their favorite song might have just played on the radio, or you might be getting these other little signs coming through from them. So it's understanding the energy that you're working with and how you pick up on that energy as well.
Yeah, because I find with a lot of people and a lot of friends that I've, brought through and taken through to see you as well, they automatically assume that what they want is the actual physical form
Yeah.
to enter the room, where they can share it. And I've had a few visions myself in dreams. A lot of people seem to come into my dreams and tell me stuff that I wouldn't normally know. And then I share that. And then they get really frustrated because then they say, well, why are they visiting you and not visiting me? And I have no clue that why that would be. But maybe I'm just a channel or something in between that, they just want me to relay that information through. And I do. And obviously sometimes they look at it and they go, well, there's no way you would know that. And then I say, I don't know how I know it or why they've come to me. But
But also, you've got to remember as well, is like with a lot of people that come to me for readings, I'll say to them, you'll hear what you need to hear and not what you want to hear.
yeah,
And like from what what you were just saying, like why do they come to you? Well, because you might dismiss it as just a dream. You might dismiss it as just something else. But when it goes to a complete stranger or somebody like yourself, then why are they going to you? Well, they're probably going to you because you're not going to try and make it make sense. You're not going to try and read between the lines and make it fit
yeah,
for what you need to hear. And also, if somebody is still in the very, very early stages of grief, and that can last for years, the early stages of grief, we're not talking about the first couple of weeks, the first stages of grief can last for years. When
yeah,
you're in those early stages, spirit are not gonna want to do anything that delays your progress on your grief journey.
you're healing.
They
Yeah, and
want
you're
you to
healing.
heal, they want you to get better, so they're not going to keep popping in every 5 minutes. And I do, I understand why people ask me things. I understand why I get messages at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. I get it. I understand it because when you're in that headspace, you just want to reach out to somebody that will understand, especially if you're scared. But a lot of times, when we're grieving, people will say to me, "Oh, if you get a message from my dad, can you let me know?" It doesn't
Yeah,
work like that. I have to shut down. I have to protect myself. I can't leave my door open to the spirit world 24/7 just in case somebody's dad wants to bring a message in. I mean, I'm still waiting
yeah.
for my loved ones that have been passed for 20 plus years and I haven't had a message yet, and it is what it is. And every spirit's transition is different and how they communicate with us is different.
Okay. No, that's really interesting. Yeah, and then obviously, like with you, because obviously you would think automatically they would come to you, but then you would probably have to go to another clairvoyant altogether, because obviously you're always involved in fairs and you have all your different friends and associates. Is that something you could do? Is then go visit somebody else and have a reading yourself, and maybe they would come through,
Yeah,
like your family would come through.
yeah, and that's what I do. I mean, it's like Jenny Grayson that I mentioned earlier on. She was a really good friend of mine, and she's the
Yeah.
reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. She was an amazing medium, and I desperately want to make a connection with her. And she's been gone. Well, it'll be 2 years in October,
Yeah. Bless her.
and I've only sat maybe twice and tried to make a connection with her because a part of me is like, you want to hear from her so much, you are hearing her voice in your head.
Yeah.
You are creating that scenario because you need it so much.
Yeah. You're pushing through. Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll go and see another medium and let them bring it. Don't get me wrong, I know she's around me, it's like our house is incredibly active and I don't know what the spirits are playing at the minute, but they're on one at the moment. So my family and I are all aware that potentially this could be some kind of warning or heads up that
Okay.
something tricky's around the corner.
All right, cool. And then, obviously I don't want to, obviously we could talk forever and talk about the same stuff, but there were certain elements that you wanted to discuss today and certain elements that are not normally brought up in conversation. And I just want people to get a better understanding what it is to live your life in the sense of all the other elements that you deal with. I mean, I only deal with loss when I've come to you. Well, not that's a lie. I've dealt with loss, and then I dealt with my the marriage breakdown, and I needed guidance, and I needed to know exactly where I wanted to go. and then I've followed it by the T. There's only one more thing I need to do, but I'm following the path that you gave me,
Really? God
which
bless you.
yeah, so I did. Yeah, thanks. So I did the whole thing where I was told to go to Scotland because my mum came through and my cousin was in a bad way, and she was worried about him, and I needed to go. So I did that, and then I did the Romania trip. I got the epiphany. That's where the podcast came from, and that all stemmed from my mum reaching through me, basically telling me that I need to get my voice out there and speak a bit more. And so I appreciate you coming on. And then yeah, and then for me it's just knowing exactly, it's not just a small element. You cover so many elements
Yeah.
and you deal with different people on a daily basis. So yeah, I mean, you can go. The floor's open to yourself to discuss that if you want.
Thank you. So yeah, so basically, if I sort of go back to when it all kind of started, and
Yeah.
I started the journey and sort of gave up full-time work. I was working in a school. Actually, I was working in a school, caring and fostering, so and doing reading. So everything was a bit much.
Yeah.
And Jenny Grayson asked me to come on board as a business partner. I'd never asked anybody, blah blah blah, and I'd said no originally because I didn't have the confidence. I was like, why is this amazing medium wanting to partner up with me? And as you know, and as a lot of people know with me, my confidence is a major issue for me.
Yeah.
And I am getting there, but anyway, so at that time it was really just to do readings and maybe the odd psychic party with her, but I actually sat and wrote a business plan. I had an accident and it kind of put me on my backside, and I
Okay.
thought, right, the universe is telling me that I need to do this, so I did. And Jenny and I sat and wrote a big business plan out, and then it's just expanded. And then before I knew it, I was like running the psychic fairs with Jenny. We were doing retreats. I've started up a paranormal company with another friend as well. So that took
Yeah.
off. And with the paranormal stuff, we're not your sort of run of the mill paranormal team. And I do think it's changing now, whereas I think before it's always been so much about getting evidence. I don't need evidence. Spirit exists. I know they exist. If they didn't,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to pay my bills. I'm very grateful that Spirit put food on our table because that's my job. But yeah, so it just all kind of snowballed from there. And then of course there was the funeral celebrancy,
Yeah.
that which I'm now doing weddings and baby naming and all that kind of stuff. So it would be nice for me to do something positive because, and actually, do you know what? Doing this podcast has made me think about things. So I've always thought that the reason
Yeah.
why I'm doing what I'm doing is because of all my experiences of death, but it's not. It's my
No.
experiences of grief. And I think for me, it's always been about, because I went to my first funeral when I was 8. It was my grandfather's. And when I was a kid, I was very lucky that it was important for my family that my sister and I were a part of the grieving process.
Yeah.
Because I think, unfortunately, a lot of people feel they're protecting their children by not letting them go to funerals or by not wanting them to be part of
Yeah.
the service. But actually, they learn to grieve through us. And I think it's really important that we allow them to be part of that process. Don't feel that you can't share how you're feeling with young people when you're going through grief.
Yeah.
Because that's why it becomes such a stigma as an adult, because we are so protected from it when we're children. And
Yeah.
that's how we learn, right? That's how we learn. That's how we learn everything,
Yeah.
is when we're kids. See, I digress so much, I forget what I'm bloody talking about. What was I talking
No,
about?
it's fine. I mean, I get it as well. I mean, I've got kids myself, and obviously with my kids, you do try and shield them away from that pain that we've gone through. But what that actually does is then it suppresses it, and then when something does happen, they don't know how to deal with it, and they don't know how to manage it. So then that then puts them in a worse situation than actually being ready. I know a lot of people that go through like cancers where it's time and it's certain you get time to try and deal with that kind of pain. But when it's so sudden, like when it happened to me, I had no time to deal with it, and it's because my mum kept it from me. It was never a conversation we ever had. So I learned from that I wanted to be more open with my children. And I know they're not children anymore, they're young adults, but they had seen quite a lot and they've been through a lot over the last 10 years. And they've actually lost, I would say, more than I've actually lost. But at that time, I just stayed inside my bubble, and it's my mother, it's my blood, and you don't know what I'm going through. But the problem is that you tend to forget that they're also blood, and it's also their gran, and it's also, you know, their mother-in-law, it's also their auntie and what have you. And I just shut myself away. And that's how I dealt with it. But then obviously coming to see you, it kind of opened my mind a bit more, and it helped me to get a better understanding that it is part of life and it's something we don't want to deal with. But as we get older, everyone else gets older at the same time. So if I'm nearly 50, my mum would have been nearly 70 if she was still alive. So when you look at that, you tend to forget other people around your circle are getting older as well, because you're just stuck in your little tight knit thing. But yeah, so you always got to share with your kids. I think, um, you know, it's scary, but they need to understand. They need to have a better understanding what's what, before they start asking too many questions that you got no answers for.
And you know, and it's okay to be in that bubble, and it's okay to not have the answers to the questions that they have. You know, it's okay to
Yeah,
say, I don't know. You know, it's
you can
okay.
find out, right?
It's okay to be in that space. And if you know, I always say to people, like, when you're grieving, you have to put yourself as a priority. You have to,
Yeah,
because you know you are going through one of the hardest transitions, and that's what it is. It's the transition, it's the change, it's the adapted. That's the hard thing. You know, if you've had somebody like a parent that you've spoken to on the phone every morning, or you've been like busy helping them with their care, their medication, and you know, you've been driven like for months, weeks, years, however long, looking after them and supporting them. When that stops, that's gone. That's the major, that's the I need to adjust to this. How am I going to adjust to this? And I always
yeah,
say to people, you know, it's us that are left behind that struggle. They, you know, once they close their eyes and they've gone, they go to the most beautiful place. And everybody's transition is different. You know, you mentioned earlier about somebody that passes suddenly, and somebody maybe has had cancer and gone, you know, months, years at being poorly.
yeah,
The person who's had months, years being poorly, they've got time to prepare, right? The family have got
yeah,
time to prepare. They might even hopefully be able to help arrange their own funeral. They're passing their illness, they're suffering for a long time, right? It's
yeah,
easier for us when they go a little bit easier because we've got closure, they're not suffering anymore, so we feel that sense of peace. And a lot of us feel guilty for feeling it, but we feel relief, and that's okay, right? Because if someone's
yeah,
suffering, then we don't let our pets suffer. So same with a human being.
yeah,
But somebody who passes very, very suddenly, that's really difficult for us. It's better for them.
yeah. Because it's just quick, right?
Yeah,
But
better for them.
yeah, we've got no answers. Yeah,
And you'll normally find that somebody who dies quite young, in the back of their mind, they will always know that they're not going to be here for a long time. It's like their soul knows that they're not going to be here and live into
yeah,
their 50s, 60s, whatever. So their transition will have a massive impact on when they're ready to reach out and make a connection with you. You know, example, if you've got a young person who unfortunately has maybe been killed in a tragic accident, I'm actually chatting to a family today about doing the funeral for somebody who's going through the same, sadly.
bless.
That spirit, that young person's spirit that's just had their life taken away like that, had the whole life in front of them, their transition into spirit is going to be very different to somebody who's maybe in their 80s, they've lived their life, their partner, spouse moved on many years ago, they're ready to go. They go straight up. So
Yeah,
their transition is a lot of heal, go through it, blah, blah, blah. And then they can come back and bring those messages. They can go through a medium, blah, 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 and all those things. Your young person here, it's tragic for them too, because it's like, what's happened? I'm too
mm,
young. I don't want to die. Da, da. So their soul is then taken to a place of healing.
yeah,
And in that healing space, no medium, no psychic can make a connection to them. Okay. They have to heal. They have to come to terms with why they've been taken over, why their life was cut short, why they haven't got to get married and have children and all those wonderful things that they wanted to do. So they can sit in that space for however long they need it. And also, it would depend on how many lives they've lived. If they've lived 10 lives, they'll be like, oh, yeah, healing, done that, been there, I'm ready. This is like
yeah.
their second life, maybe. They're still quite new to the process. Again, it takes, so there are so many different elements to.
Elements. Yeah, yeah. I think with Mark, I remember when we went, I went there with the attitude of I need you to tell me something now. So I was very much I need answers, and the thing was Calvin. So excuse me, bless me. But with Mark, he was stuck in his own grievance counselling. I remember you saying that he was still doing his healing,
Yeah.
so he hadn't quite yet passed through to my mum. So that wasn't frustrating, but it was still, you walk in thinking, yeah, Claire's gonna tell me what I want to hear, and it was real, and it wasn't like, yeah, what would you like to know? It wasn't like that, and that element then happened, but then Mum came through, and certain other people came through, and then when I went through a second time with you, Mark had already passed through, and then he was with Davey, and then he was with my mum, and that kind of element I felt at ease. It was like at peace, right?
Yeah, because he'd gone to the next part of his journey, right?
Yeah, and it felt great, and it's a
Yeah.
great warm inside feeling. Yeah,
We can't force that. And, I've grieved. I've literally sat here and worked out. I've been to 17 funerals, friends, mostly family and friends. And obviously, as a funeral celebrant, I've done, so, you're looking at about 27, nearly 30 funerals. Um,
well,
and I've felt grief. I've felt real grief, I lost somebody who was like a brother to me.
yeah,
But you can't force it. You cannot force it. You can't force spirit back. And I'll always say to people, like, they've got their journey as well. I will always try, I always say to people, I can never guarantee they'll come through, but I'll bloody guarantee my damned hardest. I'll do what I can, and
yeah,
even if that is just a song that I might get come into my head, or a date or something, sometimes I don't sit there and go, all right, they're giving me this, and it's a blah, 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 loads of information.
yeah,
It might just be,
mm,
oh, they've just been giving me a bunch of big yellow sunflowers. I've just seen a green car and pink balloons, and I want to talk about March the 18th. But those four things might literally connect to that person. So although I can't directly connect to the spirit that's in the healing space,
yeah.
what might happen is my guides might connect to another energy that can just go, do you know what? There's four little bits of information just so they know that they're okay.
Yeah, that's lovely. Yeah, and because obviously with the clairvoyance evening, when I go to it, I don't go there with the not attitude. I don't go there expecting somebody to come through for me. I just enjoy the evening, and I know that might sound a bit morbid, and it's just more of taking other people's stories in, and it's very emotional. It's an emotional night. You get, like you said, some young. I think there was a young gentleman that drowned, and then you're like, wow, something. And then another one was somebody that hung, and one of the other clairvoyancy, and then you're just in shock. And then the amount of peace that person gets when you finish
Yeah.
with them, it's so beautiful. If they either they cry or they have a massive smile or they laugh, that just gives them that kind of feeling that they were there for them, and it just, they leave happy, and that's what I enjoy the happy element, not so much the sad element of your clairvoyance evening, but more about the feeling that they've felt like they've
And they still
got what
come
they
in with their
want to.
sense of humor, right? They still,
Yeah,
and that's the thing, spirit, as far as they're concerned, yeah, they're not here anymore, but it doesn't mean life doesn't go on, right? Doesn't mean you can't
yeah,
smile again. You don't have to feel guilty because you're laughing. And I love how, the man with, well, you weren't there with a man with a glass eye, were you? Or were you there on,
yeah, I think I was there with a glass eye. Yeah,
and I said, I don't know why he just put his glass eye on the pool table. And the woman said
yeah,
that's what
yeah, I
he used
remember.
to
Yeah.
do. He used to go to the pub, he'd take his glass eye out and put it on the
Mm.
pool table, when you're like, seriously. But
That's mad. It's not something you would normally see, so it's like, and then for you to see that. Yeah, because Mark did the same. I think when Mark came through, quite a lot of my family members came through, so I was shocked that you actually pulled me forward. But and then Mark was mocking me about my hair, my alopecia, and everything else, and he was just mocking me. And you're like, no, no, I can't say that, because you didn't want to not embarrass me, but you didn't want to say it. But then I said, no, you know what, do it. And
yeah,
then everyone in the crowd was, go on, do it. We want to know. So it's a good atmosphere, and it's very intimate, and I like the intimate events. I think the first one I went to was a lot more spaced out because you had a lot more people in there,
yeah, there's like nearly
which was still
100
great,
people,
but you
yeah,
couldn't see it. But then this last one, even though you wanted a full packed house, it was perfect. It was perfect
yeah.
the way it was. And you were able to turn around and you were able to see what other people were going through and put a face to the voice. Because usually when they're behind you, people probably not even be bothered to look around, but it is good to actually see a person. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. But then there's other things that we wanted to discuss as well that, not many people understand when somebody loses a pet, and not many people take it as serious because they're not human beings. But people tend to not understand that, it's not just a comfort animal for certain individuals. It's a baby. Certain people don't get the opportunity to have a child, or a new relationship that started. And I'm not saying it's like a tester, like in the movies, but they'll get a pet together to see how it works together. And then that pet becomes their baby. And, and you have them pets, anything from 5 to 10, 15 years, just like anything. And, when they lose that pet, it's just like, it is like losing a child. So I never mock it. I never laugh at it. There's certain individuals that I know, not personally, but I've heard it, where they're like, come on, man. It's
Yeah.
a dog. It's a cat. But they just don't understand. But I mean, you have to deal with it every day. So I don't know if you want to
Yeah,
elaborate
so
on that.
yeah, I mean I've lost pets, and I've
Yeah.
had people very close to me lose their pets, and it's a different kind of grief. It really, really is. I mean, I'm not saying that losing an animal is the same as losing a child, or
Yeah.
I'm not putting them in, I'm not putting them in the same way as
Bracket or
that, if
whatever.
you
Yeah.
know what I mean.
Yeah.
But it's a different kind of pain. And I think when you lose somebody, unless you're talking about a very, very young child, we might not have many memories where we can go, actually, do you know what? It really pissed me off when you did that. And I was upset with you when you did that. So you can have
Yeah.
that kind of element,
Yeah. Moment.
where
Yeah.
you can get that off your chest. You don't get that with animals. Yeah, right. I could probably say to my cat that time he kept shitting by the bloody front door, but obviously, you know, when you lose a pet, you lose that companion. They never answered back, just loved you unconditionally.
Yeah.
And it's a different kind of pain, and people really, really suffer. And I think, as a society, we need to be a little bit more empathic and a little bit
Yeah.
more understanding when, if especially if you don't have pets yourself, or you've never lost a pet, people don't understand it, but it bloody hurts.
Yeah, yeah, there's certain elements, and I know there's a lot of older generation as well, and especially, when people lose their partners, they get a pet, as a companion.
Yeah.
And I know how lonely life can be when you're on your own, and I would love to get a pet. I mean, I've got fish, but I haven't got a dog, and I love dogs. I'm a big dog fan, but it's very cruel for me to get a dog, especially if I'm leaving the house for 10, 11 hours a day. I've got neighbors, and then I don't want them in my house. And I would rather put all that time into a pet. And so I've kind of held back because I've always been a dog lover, and I've had dogs all my life, and I've lost quite a few in South Africa as well as here in England and through my mum.
And
But
dogs,
yeah, with people,
right? Dogs, even their spirits, they never leave us. Dog will walk with us through every single life path.
which is beautiful, which is beautiful. And then one of the films that I remember as a child, which was probably most people's first element of death, was Old Dogs Go to Heaven. I don't know
Yes.
if you remember that cartoon. Yeah, so that was very sad, and but very touching in the fact that they went on to a greater place, and then they're jumping in the clouds, and they're jumping to certain elements, and they're playing with their favorite toys, and they're playing with their and as a child it was really upsetting, but it kind of gave you that kind of understanding. I know they covered the dog element and the animal element, but there's obviously a hidden meaning behind that
The
with
moral.
regards to being, yeah. So you kind of look at that, but as a child it's just a dog, but it was sad. But then you had a better understanding, and that was never hidden from us as kids.
Good.
When you lost your tortoise, or you lost a kitten, or you accidentally, no, I'm not going to go into detail what I did by accidentally, but it's certain things have happened, and then that element, your mum doesn't keep it from you.
And that again teaches you about grief,
Yeah.
teaches you about death. Having a
Yeah.
pet is a really good way of allowing your child to experience the grieving process, and the process of death, an
Yeah.
understanding of death. And I think that's a difficult thing, because it's the only thing that is guaranteed in life apart from tax. Um,
Yeah.
but yet it's the one thing we know nothing about once it's done, and it scares the shit out of everybody. But yet,
Yeah, because a lot of people just put it in the backbone. They shut their mind away from it.
and this
They'd rather
whole,
not.
you know, obviously I'm 50 this year, so my own, like, the old death and mortality thing is there. But one thing I did want to talk about is the death anxiety that I know that a lot
Yeah.
of people are experiencing. Now, obviously, I'm 50. I'm going to start getting that because a few of my friends from school have been diagnosed with certain nasty things, and obviously that's planted there.
Yeah.
But I'm even talking to people that are like in their 20s that are having this crazy ass like death anxiety.
Yeah.
Don't know what it is. A lot of people say there's something new coming. There's always something new coming in the spiritual realm. There's always some kind of big retrograde happening, or some big doorway that's happening, and stuff like that, and some big reset going in 5D, 6D, 7D.
Yeah.
That that's too,
Advanced
what's
or
the
whatever you want to
word?
call it.
Stardust for me. I'm a little bit more grounded with that.
Okay.
I'm not aware or educated in that stuff, but I get it. I understand like the earth energies and the universal energies and how it affects us. But yeah, this death anxiety is just, it's not nice, and I know a lot of
Yeah.
people have
Mm.
been experiencing it.
Yeah, I remember you posted on Facebook recently and you were discussing it, and I had that feeling many years ago. And it's just that fear. For me, it was just the fear of not waking up, and the FOMO of fear of missing out. I don't want to miss out on my daughter's future, and wedding and children and my sons, and I would get that kind of anxiety kind of feeling in my chest and my stomach, that where I felt I don't want it to happen. What am I supposed to do? And then you get that kind of element that's all fast and racy, and it feels like yeah, like an anxiety attack,
Yeah.
right? So that's the way I felt when I used to think about it quite a lot. I just think when you get to a certain age, you kind of not give up, but you kind of adjust to it in the sense that what will be, and when it happens, well, that's why I look at it, is when it happens, it happens. But I want to make sure that everything's in place.
Yeah, and this is the
Yeah,
thing. This is like, it's the one thing I never quite understand is why people don't talk about their death. Like when I shared that post about anxiety the other day, funnily enough,
yeah,
a man commented on it and said like, "Thank you so much for sharing," because I think people just don't feel comfortable about talking about death. We're all gonna die. I'm sorry, mate, but you're not invincible. We're
yeah.
all going to the same. Well, I'd like to think we're all going to the same place. Who knows?
Yeah, it depends. It's probably different clubs or something like
Yeah.
that. You probably have to VIP and everything else. I mean, I'll have to do probably a little bit more penance or whatever you call it, penance or whatever you before I get in through the gates. That's it. Thank you. But yeah, no, I understand that, and it's pretty good because, like I said, even just posting that, you're not doing it for clout. You're not doing it for views. You're not doing it for anything. You're not doing it for extra customers. It's just you're wanting to know because you've either heard it from someone else or you're going through it yourself, like you said. And I'm 50 next year. Don't want to rub it in, but I'm a year younger. But you knew that anyway. But
You wouldn't
there's
believe
that
it, then,
element.
would you? Let's be honest.
No, you look a lot younger than I do. You do. You're beautiful. But it's just, yeah, for me, it's, I don't know. I've had 50 years as such. I know I don't want to add an extra year on it, but I've had 50, and I would like to think I've got another 26, 28 years. I think 78 would be a good age. But that's kind of scary to even think that, because I've had 50 and now I'm basically another half of that, and I'm no longer going to be there. So that's kind of morbid to think that way, because you can't really control when you're going to go. But for me, yeah, it's putting things in place. Like we said before, is I want to make sure my life insurance is in intact. The company that I work for, I get 3 times my annual salary. Certain things like that, death and benefit and stuff like that. I want to make sure that's in place for my kids, because
But also,
I know what it was like when my mum died, and with Mark it was different. But when my mum died, nothing was left behind, and we didn't do it for monetary value, but we had to try and skip together to pay for the funeral, and then and everybody had to chip in, and all our family and friends from Springfield and Fisher Mead days, everyone had to chip in and help us, and everybody that loved my mum would help us with the flowers, and then and the late great Jackie Kerr would do the service for my mum at a discounted price, just to help us. There's certain things that you wouldn't normally get, so to have them things in place, I want to make sure that's in place for my kids, and I want to make sure that they have that little bit of freedom, that it'll be still sad, but when you have that financial worry as well, it is so stressful on your well-being
just the
that
financial element of it, though, Sean. That's the thing. There are so many elements to a funeral that people really need to discuss, because the amount of readings that I do where families have fallen out over a piece of music, over what they're wearing in their
yeah,
coffin, where they're buried, where they're scattered, who has what, who has, just talk, put a plan together, let your family know what music you want to be played, let them know what colours you want people to wear, have
yeah,
an influence in your funeral. And you know what? Don't wait until you've been diagnosed with something to do your bucket list. Do your bucket list now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you must do it. Yeah, you must do it because I think when my mum was in the coma, sorry, in John Radcliffe in Oxford, she was in the coma. So every day that we would talk, the four of us would go for a walk when they said to right the visiting time is now over or the halfway mark, and then we were to come back a couple hours later or what have you. We would take that walk to Oxford and just go for really long walks, or we'd head into Oxford town and we would walk because that was my mum's favourite place. So we would walk around and we would discuss it, but we never thought it would come so quick.
Yeah, that's the
So we
problem.
spoke about it and we said, look, we need guys, we need to get this in place. We need to choose this. We need to do that, not just for mum, but for us as well. And yeah, sadly, when Mark died 5 months later, we didn't know what to do. And we kind of felt like we were letting him down, that if we buried him, which we did do, or we cremated him. But at least my mum, when we cremated my mum, I knew what I wanted to do with my mum, not just take her to Romania, to Transylvania, but to take her back to Scotland, bury her with her mum, put most of the ashes in with my little brother Mark, and then I put it in my tattoo and what. You've heard the stories, but it was like that's what I wanted to do. But with Mark, we had no clue. I was at the element of going, do we bury him? And then I felt, and then we had to pick the songs.
Mm.
And we knew we couldn't play Eminem because they'll always tell us no swearing allowed. So we knew we weren't going to get the radio edit. So then we picked Stand By Me because it was a song. It was a movie that we watched as a family, and there was the four characters in Stand By Me. And even though my sister was a female, I always had that element that was us in Stand By Me. And we were walking the train tracks and we were doing that and the Goonies and everything else. So we had Stand By Me. And at that point with I'm not going to mention his name, but the guy that's in trouble at the moment with the body oil and everything else, he's big into the music industry and everything else. Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about. So his song "I'll Be Missing You" in that we played that obviously because that had a touching meaning to
Great
it.
song.
Yeah, it's a beautiful song.
Yeah.
Obviously, I wouldn't play it now, but it was a beautiful song then. So we played that as well, and they just had certain elements of our childhood and what that represented us. But I would have rather had what he wanted,
I
you know, and having
think people don't realize now as well is that with funerals, they are very open now. You know, they're not all, a lot of them back in the day were very religion based. You know, you'd have the vicar
yeah,
or the priest, whatever. Obviously, being a celebrant, you know, I can do all different kinds of funerals, but it's a lot more about the person. It's a lot more about the individual. And you can have whatever you want. You know, if you want heavy thrash metal rocking out on your entrance into the crematorium, you can have that. If you want everyone to come in wearing a mankini, you can have that. You know,
yeah,
it's as long as obviously no one's been hurt and everything's
yeah.
legal, you can do what you want at a funeral. It doesn't have to be all doom and
Suits,
gloom.
yeah, yeah,
I
and
don't want
that's what.
doom and gloom at my funeral. I tell you, if I find doom and gloom at my funeral, I'm haunting every bugger in that crematorium.
Oh
I tell
shit! So you better not go. But yeah, I've got a funeral on Monday. So my auntie died.
you.
So
Sorry to
I'm
hear that.
going to a funeral then. Oh, thank you. So that was from my beautiful family. I'd love to mention them, but I can. I don't think I can mention their names. I don't really want to.
Yeah.
But yeah, my family will know who it is. And we got the funeral then, and then they were saying that there's no dress code because my auntie didn't care for that. But I'm still going to wear a suit.
It's nice.
Just out of respect. Yeah, it's just out of respect. So I'm going to wear my suit. My suit's ready, and that's just respect for the family and for the love that I had for her. And but the whole element afterwards and the wake, and you know, the jacket will come off, the tie will come off, and then I'll be more at ease.
Yeah.
And that's what you end up doing. But yeah, I'm all for that. So with what you're doing, because obviously we could talk for like the next 6 months of podcast, but is that just a new thing? Is that something that you've just brought in?
What's that?
Doing the funerals and the weddings and everything, is that something brand new? Is
Well,
it
the
because
funerals, I got qualified through the Funeral Celebrancy Association in 2020. It was through lockdown, and
oh well,
just very recently, I've done the additional stuff with the naming and the weddings and stuff because I know I don't know disrespect to anybody that's been to see me, obviously, but obviously I deal with a lot of sadness.
Yeah.
No, and like with the paranormal stuff, like I was saying earlier on, we're not about capturing evidence. We go to help the spirits that are there. So I'm kind of like helping the living, and I'm helping those that are the non-living.
Yeah.
And it can get really, really draining and really, really tiring. So I have to be aware of how much time I do that. I have to not say limit it, but I'll be like, right, I can only do this amount of readings a week, and I have to make sure if I'm doing that amount of readings a week, I need to go for a walk in the woods. I need to
Yeah.
cleanse.
Clear
I
and
need to
cleanse.
do,
Yeah.
yeah, I need to do something like that. And of course, with the paranormal side, again, you're helping spirits into the light. You might be picking up a lot of tragedy and things. So yeah, so having to keep myself protected, and in that bubble. So I thought it'd be nice to do something positive.
Yeah,
Um,
and then you obviously see that happiness, and especially with the babies and,
yeah,
and the weddings. Obviously, a funeral's always sad, but there's that element that just a peace. But I think with, like you said, with the baby and the wedding, I mean that's a beautiful thing. So yeah, no, hats off to you to do that as well, because that's definitely a good balance to have that. The paranormal stuff, I've always wanted to do it. Um, but I ain't gonna lie, I'll probably shit my pants. So I remember when you used to always have the ones, yeah, come with us, and we're gonna go here, and I'm like, I'd like to experience it because my mum would love it. That was her thing. That was her thing. Like, was it Most Haunted or whatever show that was back in the
yeah,
days?
most haunted, yeah.
Yeah, Most Haunted, and then she loved her Martin. Was it Martin Edwards, the clairvoyant? I think it
Colin
was Martin Edwards.
Edwards, Colin
Yeah,
Edwards. No,
is that his name?
no.
No, I feel it was an American guy or something. He had like a big studio.
Yeah, I know exactly who you mean.
Yeah,
I'm thinking of Colin was the English guy, wasn't he? And
yeah.
is it Jonathan Edwards?
Oh, it could be. It could be.
Jonathan.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah,
But yeah, something like that. And I remember watching that with my mum, and then it always looked not real. It was real, but it was certain elements that I didn't believe in it. But my mum loved that. That was her thing, and we watched that probably every night. It was on every night. And then yeah, she had that thing where she would put horror movies on all the time, and come watch amateur horror. It's not scary. What? Um, you know, Exorcist, Entity, The Omen. Not even just that music. Not so much the kid or Rodney and Del Boy when they have the child and the baby opens its eyes and it
don't.
plays the Omen. Yeah, so that's funny because that just brings back my childhood as well because that used to scare the shit out of me. But my mum would never turn it off. That's the thing. I would always be struggling to sleep and I'd always see people in the hallways. I'd always see somebody looking through the window above in Fishermead. They had the door, and then there was like a window above it. And I would always look there, and in my mind, you could say my mind was playing tricks on me. I could see somebody looking at me, and because of the way my bed was, it was facing the hallway, so I'm looking towards the bathroom and the stairs. And my mum would always leave a light on, but I felt that was worse because it felt like somebody was there standing and then I could hear the amateur music. I go down the stairs, sit on the bottom of the stairs in the middle because my mum's bedroom was in the middle there on Mullion Place, and by the I think it was a balcony, living room, and then her bedroom. And I'd sit on the stair thinking my mum would turn it off, stick on a comedy. Nah, she would bring me in and just keep playing it.
That's the
You
sort
know,
of
The
thing I do,
Shining.
to be fair.
Yeah, and just let it run, thinking that was actually going to help me, but that just gave me more nightmares. And so I'm not a horror fan. I can tolerate it. So to do the paranormal thing, mm, I don't know. It always interested me, but I think you're slowing down on that now, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm still doing the paranormal stuff, but I'm just not doing public events anymore. I've cut
Yeah, I
down.
think the public events, yeah. And
Yeah,
I think,
still do it with a team because we still want to do our own research. We really,
mm,
really want to get our TikTok channel up and
yeah,
running
views up, yeah.
and put a lot of stuff up on there. So if anybody is interested, it's National Paranormal Investigators on
There
TikTok.
you go.
I've
There
actually
you
just
go.
put a really cool video up today when we did an experiment at 30 East Drive, which
Okay.
is quite a famous place. It's had a movie made about it called When the Lights Went Out or When the Lights Go Out. So
Okay.
the Black Monk Pontefract is apparently the poltergeist that causes havoc there. So we were there for 2 nights in
Won't
June.
you stay in there as well?
Stayed there overnight for 2 nights. Yeah, it was a
No, I'm
48-hour
good.
paranormal lockdown. Yeah, you should watch the video. It's insane. I'm wired up to the headphones. I'm upstairs on my own, and the other guys are all downstairs. Now, I don't get scared, but you can actually see that
The
I'm
fear.
kind of shitting it a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
because I don't realize, but they're reading the Bible downstairs, and as soon as they read the Bible, they start touching me or like pulling on my hair, or at one point it felt like someone sat on me. Yeah, as soon as Helen starts reading the Bible, and then literally as soon as she finishes, now I can't hear her. I'm listening to Spirit through the headphones. As soon as she finished speaking, I go, Amen. And I can't hear her reading the Bible. The Spirit say Amen through the Spirit box.
Wow. Well, what I'll do is when the podcast ends, I'll ask you to send me the links
Okay.
to all your different stuff that you're up to, and the links to your TikTok, your links to the video, and everything that you think, and then obviously Guided by Light and everything like that. And then I'll post that on YouTube. You can't do that on Spotify. I don't think there's any links that you can link, but with YouTube, what I'll do is I'll put everything on there, and hopefully, somebody will reach out, and obviously it's all been great. But yeah, no, thank you, Claire. No, I appreciate it. And yeah, it's just more to get an insight in what it is you do, and what you've got up coming soon and things like that. And then, yeah, hopefully I can do more episodes with you when the confidence gets a little bit better. And then, but I think it went well. I think it went really well, and I appreciate your time. But
Easy chatting.
and thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Right, I'll see you soon. Take care.
All right, take care. Thank you, Claire.
Bye.
Appreciate it. Bye bye. Yeah, so that was amazing. Thank you. Thank you, Claire, for joining, just having a bit more of an insight into what it is that she does, and having a better understanding what she faces on a daily basis. So it was really, really nice. And yeah, I appreciate that. So yeah, so this is episode 9. My next one is going to be episode 10. It's going to be called Reflection. I'll have a bit more of a jazzy title to it, but it's just more of a reflection what I've found over the last 3 months since I've started the podcast, and the challenges and the issues that I've faced with regards to views, subscriptions, people that said they were going to support me more and they didn't, and then they've lost interest, and, and then they got no time. And I get that, but it's just more like that, and just a reflection of what I've found. I've made new friends, I've sparked up new relationships and friendships and everything else, and I've really enjoyed it. And there's not much negativity, a lot of positivity that I've done since my podcasting days. It sounds like I've been doing it for years, but it does feel like it sometimes. But no, that's basically it for the actual podcast. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I'm going to end the podcast with thank you to Claire again. It was really nice. I've been wanting to get Claire on for a while, but because of her busy schedule and me trying to work around the days, I had a feeling it just wouldn't work, but it just has, and I appreciate her time today. And then I'm hoping if she enjoyed it herself, later on down the line, I'll be finishing season 1 in a few weeks. That'll be episode 10, and then I'll give myself like a week break, and then I'll do the usual every 2 weeks. So it'll be like, say, 3 weeks for the first episode of season 2. And then I'd like to maybe get Claire maybe a couple of times during the 10 fortnights. So that's like 20 weeks that my season runs for. So in that 20 weeks, I'd like to maybe get her in every 4 episodes, every 4 episodes, maybe get her in. That'd be really nice. And just to get an update on what she's up to and all the other amazing stuff that she's involved in. So yeah, it was really good. It was an insight, and I kind of felt it was really good. All right, so I'm going to end with my what I always call it, my affirmation, but it's more of like a Sean talk, and it's just more of me taking all the information that I've what I've been looking at, and I always feel like I get a better. I think the affirmation at the end kind of wraps everything up into one little bubble that I enjoy saying. So yeah, so first of all, thank you everyone for watching this episode. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed it. It's always good to have that banter and have somebody else talk for once. And then, and yeah, we got a good relationship, me and Claire. I love her to death. She's amazing. So thank you. All right, so as we wrap up this episode, I want to talk to you not just through the mic, but heart to heart. Let's talk about clairvoyance, not the Hollywood version, not the dramatic flashes or crystal balls. I'm talking about that deep, intuitive knowing, that quiet voice inside, that inner sight, what whispers to you before the world catches up. Clairvoyance in its truest form isn't about predicting the lottery or reading someone's mind. It's about perception. It's about recognizing truth before it's visible. It's about seeing the essence of something or someone before the surface reveals it. And yes, that kind of insight can be a gift. It can keep us from making the same mistake twice. It can guide us through chaos. It can be the lighthouse when we're drifting. But it can also hurt, because sometimes being able to see too clearly means you watch things fall apart before anyone else realizes they're cracking. You sense the goodbye in someone's hello. You feel the betrayal before their lie is even told. You know the love is fading even while the person still says they care about you. And that's where loss comes in. Loss isn't always sudden. Sometimes it's slow and silent, a quiet closing of doors, one by one. It can be losing a person, a dream, a version of yourself you thought would last forever. And when you've seen it coming, when your inner vision tries to warn you, it doesn't always make the pain less. Sometimes it makes it more real. But here's the thing about loss. It clears space. It strips us bare. And from that space, we rebuild. Love, real love, is never truly lost. It changes form. It evolves. It returns in different faces, in deeper ways. You learn over time that the love you thought you needed was just a step toward the love you were meant for, including the love you give yourself. And when this road gets tough, when nothing makes sense, when your heart is heavy and you feel invisible, that's when you need to remember you are not what you've lost. You are not the person who left. You are not the pain. You are the one still standing. You are the one still going. That clairvoyant part of you, it's your compass. It's the part of you that still believes, even when you're tired, even when you're breaking. It's the part of you that knows you were built for more. And yes, life will test you again and again. People may not see your worth. They may misread your heart, your boundaries, your dreams. But hear this, their inability to recognize your value does not diminish it. You are worthy, with or without validation. You are enough, even when you feel broken. You are valuable, even when no one claps for you. You are seen, even when it feels like you're not. So if you're walking through something right now, heartbreak, change, fear, uncertainty, don't turn away from it. Let it shape you. Let it sharpen your intuition. Let it remind you of what you bring to the world. Because obstacles doesn't mean stop. They mean grow. Rejection doesn't mean unworthy. It means redirection. Loss doesn't mean the end. It means transformation. You may not have all the answers today, but your soul knows the way. So trust your sight, even if no one else sees it yet. Trust your pace, even if it feels slow. Trust your light, even if it's flickering. And above all, keep going. Not because it's easy, not because you're fearless, but because you deserve the life that's waiting for you beyond this chapter. Keep going for the future you, for the version of you that's already proud you didn't give up. You're not lost, you're becoming. You're not broken, you're unfolding. You're not behind, you're building something sacred. And that is beautiful. Thank you for spending this time with me. Wherever you are, however you're feeling, just know you are seen, you are loved, and your journey matters. This has been Sean Erickson, and you've been listening to Loss,